listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin. To master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifestor Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you were born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
It looks really beautiful to me, but what do you think, Emily?
All right, we'll leave it alone.
The tree is gorgeous.
Look like antlers, huh? Well, sorry you can't see the mountains behind me today, but we got fog.
It's okay.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you find a higher vibration and a better place of mind. So my very special guest today, I always love having her here, is Pamala Osley. Let me tell you about her. She's a consultant, best-selling author, visionary professional, intuitive, medium, and aura expert. Pamala has appeared on ABC, CBS, NBC, The View, Dr. Oz, The Rick Lake Show, the Hallmark's Home Channel. Wow, you have a lot here. Ivanlia, Coast to Coast with George Nuri, Galo with Lisa Garr, and hundreds of other television and radio shows, which are too numerous to list here. She's also been featured in many regional magazines. Pamala has spoken at TEDx Talks. It's a wonderful talk on auras that I heard. The International Forum in New Science, Fortune 500 companies, and many seminars for professionals in the psychology, educational, health fields, and more. She's written the successful and popular books like Colors, Love Colors, Make Your Dreams Come True, Infinite You, I loved Infinite You, and The Truth According to John. She was awarded the Holistic Transformational Leader of the Year Award by the Global Association of Holistic Psychotherapy and Coaching. For nearly 40 years, she's had a very extensive clientele, including many celebrities. She's also had the #1 show for 11 years at a popular Santa Barbara radio station, which broadcast internationally via the internet. Pam is the founder of www.auracolors.com, a site designed to help you create success and fulfillment in every single area of your life. She also developed www.lovecolors.com. The site is designed to help you find love and friendship by matching you with people who have compatible aura colors. That must be interesting.
Oh, yeah. The different aura color personalities have, some of them are really compatible and others are really going to have a rough time in a relationship.
That's fascinating. You have to tell us do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay. Starting out just with auras, we all radiate off energy, an auric field. And so the way I see it, and a lot of other people see the same things I do, we have lots of different bands of color, and the 1 or 2 bands closest to your body are your life colors. Those don't change in this lifetime. They show your personality, your life theme, why you came to the planet, careers you're going to be drawn to, relationship needs and compatibilities, potential health issues. It's the colors in the outer bands of your aura that change all the time, depending on what's going on with you. So I see 14 different aura colors, and some of them are really compatible like blues and violets usually get along on blues and yellows, but yellows and greens, they're really, yellows are big kids at heart, and greens are the type A personalities that are driven to accomplish and make money, and yellows just want to go play and have fun. So you can see how that could be challenging to be in a relationship. Not impossible, but the reason, Julia, that I discuss the aura colors or have written about them is because it helps people validate who they are. It shows your purpose for coming here. And so when people find out their aura colors, it helps validate who they are, gives them permission to be who they are, and it helps us understand each other and allow each other to be who they are. So instead of people running around going, why can't you be more like me? Why can't you think more like me? You can go, oh, you're a crystal. Okay, I get it. I know what's important to you. Oh, you're a red. Okay, I understand your life purpose here and what's important to you. Then we can get along instead of judging each other. So that's a brief synopsis of that.
That's always a wonderful place to go. I know one time you told me about someone in my life who was a blue, and I said, they just stay at home with their family all the time. They're not going after their purpose. And you said, but Julia, that is their purpose.
Yeah, blues are about love. Yeah, blues are teachers, counselors, nurses. That's all about being in service, helping others. And they really love home and relationships, being in love.
Right. So that's a good example of how we can misunderstand. And now if I have a judgment about that person, well, we'll say as a relative, I think, oh no, they're a blue. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Which is very different. So from me, to be fair. Okay, so if we go into the auras for people who are just beginning to move into love and light and awakening, they always say, what am I here for? What am I supposed to do? So beginning with their aura color would be a great place to start for those people.
Absolutely. And on my website, auracolors.com, AURA, auracolors.com, there's a free quiz there. So people can take a free quiz. Just make sure you answer honestly who you really believe you are deep inside, not what you think your parents want you to be, or your spouse, or your bosses, or society. If you answer honestly, it will tell you, the quiz will tell you your two main life colors. And then you can go watch the free videos on those colors. You can read all about it. If you want to go deeper, you can go deeper. But my goal is to help people be happy and fulfilled here and living who they truly are. So hopefully, like I said, deep inside, people know who they are. Deep inside, we just get it covered up with shoulds and can'ts and not a good thing, and who you are is not enough. And, we get it all covered up. So this way people can learn to live their true colors.
We'll come back to that, but I wanted to start with this so people can go ahead and access your website before we go any deeper to this, or make a note of it. Because for people who are awakening, it's a wonderful thing to know.
It's really helpful. I've seen people go, oh, no wonder I felt like that my whole life. I thought I was crazy. Oh, no wonder I act that way. Or, I mean, yellows, if they had their way, wouldn't be working at all, right? And so people accuse them being lazy or procrastinators. So if they find yellows like to do either creative work or healing work or physical work, like yoga instructors or gardeners, or once they feel validated in that and are like, yes, that is what you're here to do, then people can come alive again.
I know that you told me that I'm yellow violet, and you just listed all the activities that I like.
Well, yellows have to connect with nature. They need to go outside. Usually yellows like dogs. Usually yellows are either playful, sense of humor, or creative. Yellows can be shy. Some yellows are introverted, and so they just want to stay inside and be creative. But yellows do need to exercise. So every single one of the aura colors, Julie, has a different way of staying balanced and empower. I call it empower and out of power versus positive traits and negative traits.
Right.
Each one of the aura color personalities has a different way of staying balanced. So for example, yellows need nature, they need to exercise, they need to keep a sense of humor, and they have to watch out for addictions, because yellows are the most addictive personalities on the planet. So you've got to get them to go exercise, right? Otherwise yellows they get restless, or they get depressed, or they get antsy. But you can't tell a blue to go exercise, because blues don't like to exercise.
That I know.
Blues, I can get them to go for a walk. Well, I've got blue, yellow, and added violet, so I love going for walks, but that's about it. But
we're all different, but it's so helpful to know. It really is.
Yeah, and violets need to meditate. You guys have to have alone time so you can get your vision connected with your soul, heart and soul, and something higher. So number one on a violet's list is they have to have alone time to meditate. They have to connect with their greater self so they can get guided. Because otherwise, you violets, there's 20 things you guys want to do, and you can get so scattered and lost. You can get confused, don't know which way to go next. But violets are here to do something big. They're here to help shift the consciousness of the planet, or help save the planet, or do causes, or they're also teachers and therapists, or they get involved in the arts, or music, art, writing, media stuff, or they get involved in causes. And some violets, although yellows don't usually like this, other violets can get involved in politics or law, because they're leaders, they're visionaries. You violets see things. You see how fast I'm talking? That's because you have violets. Violets go 150, let's go. I see this big picture, let's go. You get frustrated if you can't get there, and you even get frustrated with humanity because it doesn't see what you see.
I know. I'm learning a lot of tolerance and patience this lifetime. I do want to sum that up by saying that what she's talking about are the colors of the soul and the way you're expressing that soul in this lifetime. And so if you can understand that, you know where to begin or where to go forward. You agree?
It's a helpful guidepost. Well, you know what, Julia, I honestly believe before we came here, we had a plan. We had a theme. We had a mission. We had things that we wanted to experience, people we wanted to see, things we wanted to do. And we left breadcrumbs behind. We left clues just in case we got here and forgot, which is very easy to do. So we left a lot of signs. We left a lot of clues. So it shows up in your aura colors, astrology, numerology, iridology, palmistry. There's all kinds of clues we left behind in case we got lost.
Or even the people who are in your life, both good and bad. Those are good clues too.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, but they don't always show you your life purpose.
No, definitely not. Okay, so I want to talk about your perceptions and intuitions about this particular time. It seemed a little intense, and I wondered what you might see in the future or pick up about this time.
Okay, good. So that people know I am a professional psychic and I am a medium. So I talk to the other side, or I get higher consciousness guidance. And so I've been doing that for, like you said, almost 40 years now. And first thing I'm going to say is anybody that's on the planet right now, you are a very adventurous and courageous soul, because you came here at this time on purpose, because we are going through a major shift. Now, a few things. The guidance that I got from the other side. Well, first, let me start with one of the smaller, two of the smaller symbols that I got, and then I'll go to the big one. I was really concerned about the divisiveness that's going on, especially in our country, but all over the world, but especially the US. A lot of divisiveness is like, what is going on? I've never seen it like this before. And they showed me a cell, a single cell. And they said, when that cell's getting ready to grow, it divides, it splits apart and divides. Then it divides again and divides again. And they don't go off and form something new. They form a bigger entity. They divide to grow into a bigger entity. So that helped me understand why we're so divided right now. I go, oh, okay, this is part of it. I mean, we could look at the duality and the parallel universes, but we'll get into that a little later. And then the other thing that they showed me, because it felt like we were going backwards. We'd made so much stride. And then all of a sudden, all these rules that they want to do felt like we were going backwards. Like, hey, what is this, the 50s or something? back. And I was getting a little concerned. I don't go into fear because I see the big picture. So we'll share that in a minute. But go, why are we going backwards? And they showed me a slingshot, Julia. They showed me a slingshot getting pulled back. And then when it lets loose, it's going to be a really fast quantum leap, like flying forward. So, okay. So I don't know about you, but I'm ready for that.
I'm ready for it, but there is a lot of unexpected intuition. Like I was walking the dog in the woods and I could see a FedEx truck come up. And I thought, I wonder if that's a delivery for me. And then I heard, no, it's for your neighbors. And I thought, I wonder what's in the box. And I could see their cat food. And I thought, well, I didn't really want to know what was in the box, but thank you.
No, there's a lot more of that going on. The veil between the realms. Again, we're going to get into parallel universes so we can explain that. But people are showing up way more intuitive, way more psychic, having way more sensing loved ones around them. So it's definitely interesting. So what I was shown was way back when, we've done this before, way back when we had the fall of the Roman Empire, then we had the Dark Ages, where we had a major pandemic, the Black Plague, right? Or the Black Death, whatever you want to call it. There was a major pandemic where people thought that's it, the world's falling apart, it's the end of everything, because everyone was dying. What emerged out of that eventually was the Renaissance, which was a radically different way of looking at life. I mean, Newtonian physics emerged. So the world wasn't flat anymore. It was round. It wasn't the center of the galaxy anymore. There was new literature, new science, new art, new philosophy, all kinds of things emerged out of that. New health, even. A lot of things emerged. Now that took hundreds of years, but you notice everything in our time is sped up. Everything happens a lot faster. Yeah. So what they showed me is we are entering into a time where we're going to have a new Renaissance. The first Renaissance was based on Newtonian physics, which basically Newton, it was just basically that life is a big machine.
Right.
Biological machine, cause and effect, separate. You have to push something to make it move, that kind of stuff. We're separate beings, duality, all of that. What the new Renaissance is based on is quantum physics. Quantum physics is all about energy and consciousness. So when they say the new frontier is space, it's like, Julia, no, actually the new frontier is consciousness. It's amazing because they started studying consciousness in the 1900s when quantum physics first emerged, 1902 or something like that, the beginning of the 1900s. And they were all of them, Schrodinger, Heisenberg, Max Planck, all of them, they were saying consciousness is fundamental, that there's no solid matter, it's consciousness. Right. Now, that got shoved aside when the war started showing up. So all those physicists got pulled over to the war, right, to start working.
I wondered what happened to all of that.
Yeah, they got pulled over to start working on weapons for the war. I mean, that's when the atomic bomb showed up, all of that, right?
Yeah.
Now, because I'm studying this a lot now physicists are researching consciousness because they don't know what it is. They're noticing it doesn't make sense that it's being generated out of the brain. There's no, they're calling it the hard science, the hard problem of science.
Because they can't measure yet how your mind and your heart work together.
Yeah.
So I mean, if more of us did it, we could probably create anything good that we wanted.
Oh, that's it. That's what they're saying. It's all consciousness, because quantum physics, if you really look at it, we won't go too deep with that. They're saying there's no matter. There's no such thing as matter. They can't find anything solid. They keep going into atoms and then subatomic particles, and then way beyond that, they can't find anything solid. So basically, consciousness is making it all up. So that's where we're going. And just a little side note to all that, what they showed me in this is that the new Renaissance that's coming, it's going to be a really different way of living on the planet. They're showing that people can leave if they want to, but that we're basically going to be, not to sound religious or corny, but basically heaven on earth. We're going to be conscious souls living on the earth and knowing that it's consciousness and energy. So we're going to be able to create anything. But when I looked at the future, because I've done readings for people about the future, we're not supposed to be working this hard. We're not supposed to be working at all. We're supposed to be doing what we love to do. So we abolished slavery, years ago, but we're still acting like slaves. We're still all working for money. And so all of that's going to go away. And which is what we're doing with AI. That's the little side note. AI is supposed to do all that grunt work so we don't have to do it. So, usually when there's change, a lot of people will go into fear first about change. But I'm very optimistic because what they showed me was everything on this planet is going to be beautiful. No wars, no poverty, no starvation. And it doesn't seem even logical. Like, how could we go from where we are now to that shift? But the shift is going to happen in our understanding of consciousness and how we're creating it all with our thoughts. And
when I first started hearing the wolves talk, they showed me like a story of the earth when we first came here, and everything was in harmony. And anything, because we were in harmony, anything that we wanted would appear.
Yeah.
Like if you said you wanted an apple, there would be an apple on your desk.
Yeah. It's the garden. It was the garden.
Yeah. And they didn't know why, but we descended into lower consciousness. Lots of theories on that. But they say if we can raise our consciousness back into that belief, we'll have it. And they do think this is the time to do it, by the way.
Which is what we're doing. I believe I know why we descended, if you want to call it that.
Sure, I'd love to hear it.
Source, all that is, God, source, universal cosmic intelligence, whatever you want to call it, wanted to have experiences, couldn't know itself by all that is, so pretended to separate out to have different experiences. So we're here just for the experience. We're not being punished. We're gonna talk about parallel universes to show this is not about karma being punished. We got to work out something from other lives because they're all going on simultaneously. Okay, there's no such thing as time. Not even on this side, we're just making that up. So
I know.
We came here for the experience to experience, and we got denser and denser and denser just for the experience of idea of separation. And I did hear, I've been listening to a lot of physicists speak, quantum physicists, about where we're headed and what's going on. But I'm also listening to a lot of YouTube videos on people that have had near-death experiences. And I've had experiences, plus I've also talked to people on my show about their near-death experiences. And basically, one of the people said, he got a message on the other side, like, okay, we've done this. We've done the denseness. We've done the separation. We've gone as dense as we can be, and we've gotten lost in it. But now we're starting to reemerge and wake up, which is what we're doing now. What we're doing.
I was going to say, you gave me the best description of a hologram that I've ever heard when you went into the empty space. So thank you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, yes, we're adventurous souls. We want to have experiences. We like to learn. We like to learn from experience, and we're little entertainment junkies. That's why we have so much, like so many different shows on TV and websites and theme parks, and we like to be entertained. So what we've created, though, we've forgotten who we are, so it's turned into a nightmare. And so the rest of it's like, okay, we're over the nightmare, and we're getting help to wake up, to remember who we are. And that's really what's going on with this new renaissance, is a new understanding or remembering of who we really are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm optimistic.
Go ahead.
Well, no, you tell me when you want to go into physics.
I was just going to ask one question. To me, it feels like there are regular influxes of light or energy. Do you have that sensation?
Yeah, I'm sure people have experienced this. I call it I feel like I have 1 foot in the new understanding, 1 foot in the new world, and 1 foot still in the old world, because we've been so hypnotized and in that dream, in that nightmare for so long. It's the old paradigm, right? The old way of thinking, the old way of believing reality. And so I feel like we're getting help. So as soon as I ask for help, I do feel like there's, good, positive waves. But then every so often it's like, I can feel it. I can feel this wave of like mass consciousness going into fear. And then it turns into anger, but it's all based on fear. It's like, whoa, I can feel that. And usually right after that, we either have fires or earthquakes or something.
I know.
Mass consciousness is creating that. The mass consciousness is our environment. The earth is responding to our consciousness. So when people get really angry, yeah, we're going to have fires.
Mm-hmm.
And with a lot of hidden grief and fear in there, yeah, we're going to have floods and tornadoes and hurricanes, and just like it's reflecting back our emotions, our feelings.
Yeah, the elementals respond to us. I'll say it: fire, air, water, earth. They all respond to us and where our consciousness is. And if you'll notice, when people are on a higher level, the weather's usually beautiful, the sky is clear, and the opposite is also true.
Yeah. I've changed the weather. I've changed the weather. I mean, I don't know I went to Hawaii once. I was flying. Well, I've been many times, but I was flying on the plane, and as we landed, the pilot came on and said, well, it looks like you're going to have rain this whole next week. And I went, oh, no, not on my vacation, not on my Hawaiian vacation. So that night when I went to sleep in the condo that I was in, I went, nope, blue sky. I'm going to see blue sky tomorrow, no rain, whatever. I woke up the next day, blue sky. It was gorgeous. So I grabbed my towel, went out to the private little beach that was in front of this condo, put out the beach, and they had bushes all around, like hedges.
Uh-huh.
in an hour, all these people started coming through the hedges to sit on my beach, which was fun. I don't mind sharing, right? So I was like, wow, how come everybody's coming here? And this newlywed couple came up to me and they went, we have driven around this entire island. It is pouring rain everywhere but this beach. And we looked up and all you could see was blue skies. Like, how's that possible? And they went, it's pouring rain everywhere but right here.
Because you can change your reality, and you did.
Yeah, it's amazing who we really are and what we can do, Julia. But we're in a time of shift. I'm sure everybody feels that. But if we put the energy into the fear about that or judgment about that, then we just add to that separation. We add to the problem. So we want to put our energy into visualizing and seeing and believing in that positive new life showing up, that positive new earth, new way of life, new consciousness showing up. And then we're going to create that.
New possibilities. Yeah. So go ahead and start telling us about parallel universes, because that's so exciting.
Okay, well, this is fun. How much time do I have here for the break?
We'll go to break in about 6 or 7 minutes, and then we'll have
we'll start a bit of
time afterwards. Yeah.
Well, so basically, this is a quantum physics. They have evidence that parallel universes are real. And I know they're real because I use them. It's very fun to see what you can do with this. So I'm going to explain it in lay terms because it sounds very science fiction, but I encourage people, remember, there's a lot of things that used to be declared science fiction that are now science fact, like around Earth or space travel or flight or cell phones or satellites, sliding doors even, or just they started on Star Trek. I didn't realize that. Oh, sliding doors we saw were on Star Trek. It's like, so it used to be science fiction. So parallel universes are a real thing. And they're as close to you as your breath. So the way I like to put it in lay terms or normal terms is, right now, Julia, the room that you're in, there's at least 10 radio stations broadcasting, and all those radio waves are around you, but you're not aware of them because you're not tuned into the frequency. So they're not a reality to you right now. But if you went to your radio and turned it on and turned to say 101.7, now you're going to hear music, the talk that comes out of that becomes part of your reality. You're tuned into that frequency because it's all energy and information and frequency. Now, if you turn over to 99, now you're going to hear the music, the talk that comes out of that, and that becomes your reality. Now, 101.7 is around you still. It's still happening, but you're not aware of it because you're not tuned into the frequency of it. So that's why people who have crossed over, they're right around you. They're just in another frequency. They're in another plane of existence or frequency, whatever, but you can still communicate with them. You can still be aware that they're there. So this is what's fascinating, is we can use those to radically change your life by shifting. Matter of fact, they're saying we do it all the time. We shift into parallel universes every time you make a choice, a decision, or you use your imagination. You've actually created that. But every time you make a choice, there's a real you that goes off and has that new choice that you made, and another you that's still continuing on the path that you were on before you changed your mind and made a different choice. And that's quantum physics. That's how bizarre that is. So physicists are even saying there's a real parallel universe where the Germans won the war and not the Allies. And so we're all speaking German. There's a real universe where the continents didn't even separate. So it's all,
we're still in Pangea.
Yeah. So everything that you've ever imagined, every choice you've ever made, there's an actual real you that split off and is having that experience. I don't care if you just decided to wear something different today, made a choice between this one versus this one. There's another you that went off. Now, most of the changes that we make or decisions we make are so subtle, you don't realize that you just shifted into another universe. Plus, we've been trained to believe there's only one reality. We've been trained to believe there's only one reality, and now we're learning that's not true. So if you want to know where you're headed in this life, or where humanity's headed, or where the world is headed, you're going to end up in the one you believe in. Okay. There are people that believe this is doomsday and everything's going to fall apart and it's all going to be destroyed and blah, blah, blah. Their imagination, their choices are bringing them into that parallel universe. And that's what they're going to experience. So you experience the parallel universe that you believe in. right? Now, this makes sense because we're infinite beings. There's no way our grand soul, which is much larger than anything we can imagine, it's infinite. No way it could fit into this little body. Yeah, you
No.
can't squeeze that. So there's an infinite aspect of you that's always, we'll call it on the other side. It's always there. And what your soul did was shoot off into different lifetimes, into different experiences, into different eras, and is having all those experiences simultaneously. But you're doing that in this lifetime too. Your soul is still splitting up. Does this sound bizarre? It sounds like, but you know, we see it in our movies all the time. We have Back to the Future, Somewhere in Time, Frequency. One of my favorites is the movie Yesterday. They're all about parallel universes.
Yeah. And so let's stop there and go to break, and we'll come back and talk about how we can practically use that. I know all of that, but it's so mind-blowing to listen and hear someone say it. It's just so strange that it's having that effect on me. I guess I'm leaving this reality and moving into other ones.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to thank you. We're going to be right back with more with Pamela Osley about parallel universes. You can find out about her at www.auracolors.com. You can find me at onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with more mind-blowing material. Hello, everyone. We're back. I'm Julia Griffin at onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com. And I'm having a wild and wonderful conversation with Pamela Osley. We're talking about parallel realities and universes and how we can experience those changes, not just talk about them. You can find Pamela at www.auracolors.com. So Pam, take us back into the parallel realities, please.
Okay, well, anytime we've discovered something new, it supposedly gives us more freedom. So, for example, when they discovered the world was round instead of flat, okay, we could go around the world instead of back and forth. Or aerodynamics. Aerodynamics always existed, but we didn't know we could fly till they actually discovered the principle of aerodynamics. And now, instead of taking stagecoaches across the country in months, we can fly across in a matter of hours. So when we discover new principles, the goal is to give us more freedom. So when I first heard about parallel universes, I went, well, then that means we should be able to use those, which I believe we do. I believe that people who have spontaneous remission from health issues went into a parallel universe. That's one way to look at it. Basically, it's helping us understand that we're infinite.
Right.
Limited, and we're not these little biological machines that are just trapped in this little reality, and that's all we can do. So we're expanding our awareness. So do you want me to share the biggest one that I mean, when I first started using it, what I did?
Yes.
Share that with you? My relationship?
Yes. Wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. So we haven't talked about this before? We
have before, but I don't think this group has heard it, and it's a fabulous story.
Well, then when I first discovered parallel universes, I had fallen in love with this guy who wanted nothing to do with me. I was blonde. He didn't like blondes. I live in Santa Barbara. He's a musician. He picked up and moved to the East Coast and said, not in love with you, not attracted to you, ain't never going to happen. Like, blah, blah, blah. And I was devastated. Then I started reading about parallel universes and went, okay, so wait a second. So the reason I'm in a particular universe is deep inside, I didn't feel lovable. I didn't feel attractive. I didn't feel like anyone was ever going to love me, that kind of stuff. So I went, well, I don't want to stay in this reality. I don't want to stay in this parallel universe. So I started imagining, I went into a meditation and I started imagining, well, I did it very visually. So I imagined parting these membranes apart and going into universe number 2. So we'll call the first one universe 1. I went into universe 2 and I looked around and went, no, he's on the East Coast. He's enjoying playing with the band he's with. He's seen some girl. He's happy there. I would feel guilty pulling him away from that. So this is not the universe I want to stay in. So I kept going into different universes and I eventually went, we'll call it universe number 5. I opened up the membrane. I went in there and Julia, I could feel how real it was. I could feel the grass on my feet. I could feel the sunshine. I could feel the air. I looked around. I knew this universe was just as real as the one I had been in prior to that. It was that real to me. And I knew it was all consciousness, but it still felt real. And I saw him in the distance, and I saw him, my awareness was there. I saw him giving notice to the band. And now he had been there for 2 years, by the way. I didn't discover parallel universes till after he had been gone for 2 years, right? So I saw him giving notice to the band. I saw him breaking up with whatever girl he was seeing because it wasn't working out. They weren't that happy together. He was going to go to Iowa to see his meditating friends. He was going to go to Los Angeles to see his rock and roll buddies. And then he was coming back to Santa Barbara to be with me because he missed me. I mean, I felt that so strongly in that universe. It was really clear, Julia. And then 2 weeks later, now remember, he had been gone for 2 years. I had had no contact with him. So 2 weeks later, I felt drawn to call him. Why not? He was in love with me. Obviously, I was in a universe where he was in love with me. I wasn't stalking him. I wasn't doing anything. I called him up. It's like, how you doing? And he said, well, 2 weeks ago, I gave notice to the band. I'm not going to see this girl. I've been going to Iowa. I'm going to Los Angeles. And now we have been together. We just celebrated 40 years together. 40 years together. Okay. Now, you would think that could have just been coincidence or whatever, but here's the weird thing. In universe number 1, all my girlfriends were complaining. They were all single. They wanted to be married. They wanted to have kids. They were all complaining they weren't meeting any new guys, right? Any good guys. When I shifted into universe 5, they were all engaged, getting married, and then they all had babies. And it's like, oh my gosh. Now this was like 40 years ago. So I wanted to go up to all of them and go, hey, in this other universe, you're single and complaining about it. But I thought they'd think I was crazy. So I didn't say anything. Now I'm speaking up. Now I'm telling people these are real things. And
Well, I was going to say a couple things. You really knew that was your heart's desire.
that's
You
what
were sure on a soul level.
on a deep level, that's what I wanted. That's who I wanted to be with. Now, in the old paradigm, it's like, well, you have free will, but you can't make somebody else love you, and you can't force somebody, and you can't do this, and blah, 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 and you can't hurt anyone. It's like, you can have anything you want as long as it doesn't hurt somebody else. That's an old paradigm because there's infinite parallel universes. I didn't have to change him. I didn't have to work hard. I didn't have to know. In this universe number 5, I shifted how I was believing about myself. I shifted my beliefs. That was the difference. I didn't change my outside world. I changed inside, and the new world, I aligned with that new world. Okay.
And that's sort of a new world paradigm, shift yourself inside.
It's
and
like
you'll have a very,
it's like the law of attraction. It's like whatever you're believing, you're going to experience. Whatever you put out, that's instant karma. Whatever you put out is going to come back to you. So in universe 5, I honestly felt that I was lovable, that he missed me, that he really did love me, that he wanted to be with me. But I felt that. Now you understand, the cool thing about shifting universes is you're just shifting you, and everything else around you it changes. All the same people could be there. They're different. They're different. I've done this with people that I've had problems with that I go, oh, because they were very mean or rude or controlling or negative, whatever. And I go, I'm holding a belief about them. So that what you do is you have to drop believing in that universe completely. Just drop it. You don't put any energy into it. You let it go, and you put all your energy into this new one that shows that and that's what manifests for you. So it's basically a lot of the same principles as law of attraction or creative visualization. It's just mostly we've been stuck in, oh, I have to do this deep inner work. I've got to forgive my parents. And I'm not putting that down. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It's just you're feeding into universe 1 a lot longer because you believe there's something wrong with you. So if you shift it, just drop it. That's what I did. I let go of it, almost like taking off all my clothes, taking off this overcoat, boom, just dropped it and shifted into and changed my beliefs, and everything changed quickly, very quickly. It wasn't.
I would think that's the advantage of using a parallel universe. It's faster.
It's way faster and easier and quicker, but it's an inside job. What's hard is changing things on the outside, trying to change some circumstances out there. Now, this works with money. It works with health. It works with, where you're living. It works with everything. It's just knowing, first of all, people have to know that parallel universes are a real thing, and that you create your own reality with your thoughts and beliefs. So once you do that, know that you're creating with your thoughts and beliefs and emotions, because your thoughts and beliefs stimulate your emotions. They give rise to your emotions,
I would
right?
also say that what you're saying is a bit more holographic than
Yeah.
what most people do as compared to a vision board.
Yeah, well, because we're used to thinking that time is linear. We got to do step 1, then step 2, then step 3, then step 4. But that's not, quantum physics is just saying that's not reality. It's holographic. It's all there at the same time. Einstein even said that. His whole theory of relativity too. And he said, just because you haven't gotten to a lake yet, doesn't mean that lake doesn't already exist. Just because you haven't traveled there, it's still there. So it's
and
not,
space doesn't work the way we say. I mean, people are always like, I lost something. And I'm like, we'll see it back where it was. And they'll say, I left it at my mother's house, but now it's on my desk. I'm like, yeah.
we are in really fascinating times, Julia, and you can imagine it's challenging even for me. And I know this, and I've experimented with it, and it works. But even for me, it's challenging to let go of the old training, of the old paradigm of what reality is. But even Einstein said reality is an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. So the things that are showing up in our lifetime are going to be mind-blowing. Well, can you imagine the first time somebody came back and said, hey guys, the world's round, not flat? It's like it's like, what? I can see it's flat. I can see it, but, and how do people not fall off if they're on the other side of the world? So that had to be and flight. What do you mean we can fly? I mean, that must have been so like not reality. I mean, my grandparents saw somebody go on the moon, and, and they were riding horses to school when they were younger.
I know. That's how my great grandmother was. Little tiny school. She had to take a horse and carriage to get to the train to go to college. And
yeah. So
they had those
very,
first cars.
yeah. And we're changing it on purpose. We're shifting because I don't know about you, but I'm kind of, I mean, I think this earth is beautiful. I love traveling and seeing how beautiful it is out there, but I'm so bored with the old way of doing things. It's so slow. It's so dense. That's why.
So limited.
Yeah, it's an old consciousness, and we're shifting into a higher perspective. I'm listening to physicists saying that we're going to go beyond quantum physics. It's like they said, there's no time or space. There's no time and space. Those are illusions. So it's like, wow. And they don't even know what gravity is. So there's some mind-blowing stuff. So I want people to be optimistic and hopeful and focus on what you want in your life instead of the negative stuff. Now, the only reason I really believe this, Julia, the only reason we suffer is 2 reasons. There's only 2 reasons we suffer. One, we've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten who we are, that we're creating all of this with our consciousness for the experience. So one, we've forgotten who we are. And the second reason we suffer is because we want to know what it feels like. We're putting ourselves into challenging situations for the feeling, for the experience, to go, oh, wow, and to see if we can overcome it or just how it feels, but we don't have to stay in it. And that's back to remembering who we are.
And switching to another channel.
Yeah, that's what it is. And that's what we do. That's why I feel like our technology is leading us that way. We know we can, if we're watching something on TV we don't like, we change the channel. And we used to have to get up and go and turn the channel, right? Now we just push a button, and sometimes you don't even have to push a button. Now we just talk to it and change, go to PBS, whatever it is. So we're getting, we know we can change the channel on our TVs, on our radios, on our iPads, on our whatever. We know we can do that. We just have to know we can do that with our lives. But we've been taught to believe there's only one reality, and it's not the truth.
I was going to say that one time I became really overwhelmed with grief, and I thought, this is odd, because of course I miss this person with all my heart, but it's not like me to cry all day. What is going on? And so I started meditating more and more, and I heard, you're stuck in the lower consciousness of grief. If you ask for a higher consciousness, you'll pop right out. And I did. It was just amazing. I mean, it happened in just like 3 days.
Yeah, it's a frequency. But look, if you're listening to a song you don't like, you know how to change it so you don't have to listen to it. But we don't know we can do that with our lives. And it's all frequency. It's all energy and consciousness and frequency. And that's on one hand mind-blowing. Now I still want to have the experience of being able to walk on the beach and eat ice cream and, laugh with people and watch funny things. I still want to have that experience. I want it to be conscious.
Right.
I want to know that I'm choosing it. And it is. also, I mean, I don't know about you, but I have days sometimes where I wake up and I'm fine. And then later in the day, I'm just sobbing, crying for no
Mhm.
reason. I feel like I'm picking up the mass consciousness too, because I have no reason for those
Exactly.
tears. But I feel like we're picking up, we're connected, we're all connected. We're picking up on the grief and the sadness and the tears and the loss and the killings and all that bit. So it's like I don't judge it anymore. I go, oh, I'm crying today. Okay. And then other days it's like, no, I don't want to cry. And then I shift the thinking, I shift their frequency.
I think one thing to add about that for people who are awakening, when you become more intuitive, you have fewer boundaries. And I don't think we've learned what boundaries to put in yet so that we can handle the higher vibrations that we're getting. So when I have that feeling and it doesn't take care of it completely, the one you're describing, I see myself like pushing the energy back in all directions below and above. And it seems to push that away. But I'm like, if I don't remember to do it, it comes in so loudly.
It can, yeah. And that's one way to deal with it. We have lots of choices. We can do that, or a lot of times I don't tend to do boundaries because I know we're all connected, but I used to. But now it's just like, now I transform the energy. I go, oh,
Right.
there's a lot of grief out there. Okay, I'm going to transform it into love and light and joy and ease. And I send that out there, and that also transforms it, changes it. There's lots of different ways to do
Well,
it.
since you use that example, let's tell our listeners that you can begin to do that every night and every morning. See the world that you want to see. Put the trees back. Let the poor all have a nice place to live. See smaller hospitals because everyone stays well. And imagine just an incredible day for yourself. If enough of us do it, it'll pop.
Right. Julie, our biggest challenge is we get very addicted to our stories.
Mm-hmm.
Juice, we get the emotions, which is part of why we're here. We want the story and the feelings and the juice and everything, but we can get addicted to it. Okay. When people get really angry or really depressed, we can get really caught in it and addicted to the stories. So it's changing the story, which is challenging for people. But even if you just change a little bit of the story and then change a little bit more and a little bit more, if you just can't go from stage 1 to stage 5 okay, with your story, but just realize that the addiction to the story is the emotion we're getting out of it, the frequency we're getting out of it, and they can be very addictive.
They really are. I catch myself sort of falling into them and then I pull myself out. So
Yeah.
my rule of thumb is I'm going to feel this 20% less than I usually do. And then because that works, I get all curious about it. Oh,
Yeah.
so what would it be like if this wasn't here at all? Oh, this feels good. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Even with loss, it's like I go, well, you know what? Somebody that I really love just crossed over to the other side, and partly I can grieve over it because I miss them, and the other part's like they're right here. They went on and they're
No.
having a blast. They're in a really loving place and whatever. It's like, okay, so you went to the other place before me, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay as long as you're happy. So then the grief for that goes away.
And I think anyone who's evolved who really loves you is probably sending you light and love every single day of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So we're in interesting times. We're in a new consciousness renaissance and we've already entered in. We just haven't fully, what do we want to say, anchored it, embodied it, realized that it's real, realized that the old paradigm is old. But look at how many things they used to believe in back in the 1600s,
I know.
and we don't anymore.
But they
So
did have that cool alchemical image of the world and the magician lifting up the edge of the world, and there was a whole nother universe out there.
yeah. Well, they used to believe that there was a dark black dome over the earth, and the little stars that we saw were little pinpricks in the fabric, so that we could see through to the light. So we have a different understanding of reality, and it's okay. I mean, I don't feel like we're going to be perfect at it right away. Although I do know you can shift immediately. It's just the more people know about it, the more people play with it and experiment with it, letting go of the stories and the dramas so we can shift into another parallel universe.
Well, you just gave us such an important guide there. And that is instead of, I think, thinking that this energy is just going to come down and take over everyone, for the people who are awake enough to listen to the show, they can work on what you just said.
Yeah, it's just shifting a perspective of reality. What we've been taught is reality is not the higher truth of reality. It is way more profound, positive, fun, loving, adventurous. we have more creative power than we've been taught. So it's whatever you focus on is going to increase. So, and if people want to like, I need to fight for the environment, it's like, okay, go for it. But basically they have to see a damaged environment to be able to do that. I don't have any problem with them doing that. And my way of doing it is seeing what you just said. The earth is green and it's healthy and the earth knows how to heal itself and the trees are growing and everything's fine. But then some people go, well, then what am I going to do with my life? It's like, well, come up with something that you don't have to have a negative to fight against.
Exactly.
Because people.
Yeah. So for people who are worried about bees, there are lots of you. Why don't you see bees everywhere?
Yeah. 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 And it's not hiding our heads in the sand, you guys. People that don't understand what's going on about the higher consciousness and what quantum physics is saying and what spiritual teachers have been telling us forever, that to me is also hiding their head in the sand. You know, I'd rather focus on that higher consciousness, but that's me. That's my journey here. That's my choice here. The only reason I'm sharing this is not to judge anyone else or make their story wrong or their experience wrong, because everybody's here for the experience. Whatever experience you're having, get the juice out of it. We're only discussing this so that people realize they have a choice. Most people don't have a choice.
You said something so important about being creative. It's also your inner child that we tend to shut off. Yeah. And when you can do something like see the birds, see lizards coming back, see blue jays, which were gone, but are back now. Your inner child is like, oh, I love this. And that's part of what puts you in a good frame of mind.
Yeah. So we're creating out of play versus struggling to survive. It's like, well, I don't want to struggle to survive. I want to creatively play.
It's almost like we're saying we've had enough drama. We're ready to have some fun.
Yeah. And you know what? Play has gotten a bad rap. People's like, oh, once you grow up, you have to stop playing. You got to, but you know what? I'll tell you how much subconsciously we must value play. We pay the most amount of money to people that play for a living. They play sports or they play roles in movies or they play music. We pay those people the most amount of money who are playing for a living.
Because they engage our inner child and expand our consciousness if they're any good.
Yeah. So we obviously value play. It's okay to do more of it. And I honestly believe that side little thing here, that's why we've created AI, is to start doing all those things that we think we have to do.
Well, that's such a great message, and it's going to keep people from getting into fear about it.
Yeah. Well, the good news about AI coming up too is it's going to get people to start looking at defining consciousness. It's like, oh, they're going to become conscious and take over the world, Terminator. It's like, oh, now help me define consciousness.
Hey, well, it's just all wonderful. And I wish we could talk forever, but we're getting to the end. So, Pamela, would you tell everyone where they can find you and go through your wonderful website?
Yes, auracolors.com, AURA, and the American version of colors, COLORS.com. And sweetie, I've got a whole Quantum Leap course on my website too. I've got all the Aura Color courses for people to find out what their Aura Colors are, but I've also got a Quantum Leap course showing people how to elevate their consciousness. I teach people how to talk to the other side, how to be psychic, how to do remote viewing. We bend spoons to show that the power of consciousness over matter. We do all kinds of things in that course. So if people want to go to that higher level and start expressing themselves from a higher level, I even show people how to do parallel universes.
And there's a dating site.
Yeah. So the Quantum Leap, all my courses, if you get them and you don't like them, it's money back guarantee. But that's my way of expanding the consciousness.
So for any of you who want to do that, it's a wonderful thing to do. You can find me at onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com. I'll have classes, an awakening class beginning in July. If you're interested, send me an email at onetrueself@gmail.com. So thank you so much for listening to our show and being with us while we're talking about all kinds of unusual things today. And thank you for tuning into the power of inspiration and awakening. So have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Namaste.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness is always lived within you to tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit onetrueself.com. That's onetrueself.com. That's ONE, trueself.com.